wondered what happens when you forget to properly close out a Ouija board session? Brace yourself as we dive into some of the most chilling tales of unexplained disturbances, creepy encounters, and ghostly phenomena that followed when people skipped the all-important goodbye. Imagine just having a nice, fun time with your friends and deciding to contact the other side when things take a horrifying turn for the worst. That is exactly what happened to this Reddit user. They wrote, quote, "So my friends and I were playing with a Ouija board last night, and of course, we totally spaced on saying goodbye. Fast forward to this morning, I wake up and find the planchette sitting right on my pillow. I'm talking, it's just chilling there like it's got something to say. The weird part is, I hadn't touched it since we put it away last night. I didn't even move it when we were done. I was so freaked out I just left it there until my roommate came over to check it out. We ended up tossing the whole board and planchette in the trash. Safe to say, I'm not taking any chances with that thing again." Fair enough. I gotta say, fair enough. Probably for the best. I don't think you're ready for this responsibility if you forget to say goodbye. This next Reddit user wrote, quote, "So I wake up one morning and find 3 long, deep scratches on my arm. I definitely didn't have them before I went to bed, and I'm not exactly the type to sleepwalk into anything sharp. The scratches were pretty fresh and red, like something had really clawed at me. The only thing I can think of is that Ouija board we messed with the night before. We were so caught up in the whole session, and we didn't even think to close it out properly. I didn't feel anything during the night, but those scratches are making me seriously question if we brought something home with us. I'm keeping an eye out for any more weird stuff and definitely not touching a Ouija board again." Yeah, that's some like Ed and Lorraine level demonology, you know? I don't know. Scratches are like, whew, we gotta get a priest in here. We need a blessing, some holy water, something. Anything, really. Have you ever had a reoccurring nightmare before that you were trying so hard to figure out why it kept happening? What is my subconscious trying to tell me, so that you can eventually find a way to stop it? This Reddit user definitely experienced a little something like that. They wrote, quote, "So ever since we messed around with that Ouija board, I've been having this freaky recurring nightmare. It's always the same. I'm running through these never-ending dark corridors, and there's this shadowy figure chasing me the whole time. I wake up every morning screaming and drenched in sweat. It's like I'm stuck in a horror movie every night. I didn't really think much of it at first, but when it kept happening night after night, I started connecting the dots. It all started right after our Ouija board session. I'm seriously considering getting some sage, or maybe even having a professional cleanse the place, because this is just too much." Yeah, that's why I don't like dreams. Dreams, nightmares, I don't know, man. I just want some peace when I go to sleep. Let me know your thoughts and feelings about dreams/nightmares. Do you like them? Do you hate them? So my friends and I decided to get a little spooky one night and used a Ouija board in my basement. Things were going pretty chill until we got this seriously creepy message. Just as we were about to wrap things up, my buddy starts making fun of the whole thing, saying he didn't believe any of it. Out of nowhere, the board starts spelling out, "Close the door." We thought it was a joke, so we laughed it off and, just went on. Big mistake. A few minutes later, when we tried to leave, our basement door was totally jammed. Like, wouldn't budge at all. We ended up having to use a crowbar and spent a whole hour wrestling with it to get it open. It was like the door was fighting back. After that, none of us have even thought about touching a Ouija board again. Nope, never again. I don't know, maybe that's just a lesson in, don't roast demons? This Reddit user was in for a terrifying time after a spooky Ouija board session when an unsettling figure appeared at the foot of their bed, leading to a series of eerie disturbances that haunted their nights. They wrote, quote, "So me and my friends had this epic Ouija board session one night, and of course, we forgot to say goodbye. Huge rookie mistake. That night, I wake up in the middle of the night to see this dark, shadowy figure standing right at the foot of my bed. No face, just this creepy, faceless silhouette. I was totally paralyzed with fear. Finally, I managed to reach over and flick on the light, and poof, it was gone. But here's the real kicker. Ever since that night, my house has felt super off. Like there's this weird, unsettling vibe that wasn't there before. We still can't figure out what that thing was or why it decided to visit me, but it's safe to say I am never skipping the goodbye part again." Whispering is usually creepy, so when it has to do with a Ouija board, you know that something has gone seriously wrong. This Reddit user wrote, quote, "So my cousin and I were feeling brave and decided to use a Ouija board in her creepy attic. Of course, we totally forgot to close it out properly, classic mistake, but for the next few weeks we started hearing these eerie whispers coming from the attic every single night." I gotta pause there. Why would you do the Ouija board in the creepiest part of the house? Like, do it in like the living room or something, you know what I mean? Because now whispers from the attic? Way worse than it could have been. It wasn't clear what was being said, it was like this constant jumble of words and noises, but it was definitely trying to communicate something. We'd lie in bed, ears straining, trying to make sense of it. Finally, after a few sleepless nights, we decided enough was enough and called in a priest to bless the house. It was a little dramatic, but hey, the whispers stopped right after, so we figured it worked. Never doing that again. Honestly, I don't think that there's any move that's too dramatic when you're hearing whispers in the attic, alright? You gotta call the police, the priest. Honestly, call fire just in case. You know, you gotta call everyone. So my roommate and I were messing around with a Ouija board one night and we were both so wiped out that we totally forgot to close it. That night we started hearing these weird knocks on our bedroom door, like every single hour on the hour. It was freaky and relentless. At first we thought it was just the house settling or something, but it kept happening. The knocks were so persistent we couldn't get any sleep. Finally, after a sleepless night, we realized that we'd messed up with the board. We got up, did the whole closing out thing and said our goodbyes, and the knocks stopped immediately. It was like a switch had been flipped. We learned the hard way that if you don't properly close out, things might just come knocking. Literally. Sometimes it's not about when an item gets misplaced. Sometimes it's more about where that item is found. This Reddit user wrote, "So my buddies and I were messing around with a Ouija board one evening, and of course, we completely forgot to close it out. Fast forward a few days and I noticed that a coin I always kept in my pocket was just gone. I searched everywhere, but it was like it just vanished into thin air. Then out of nowhere, a week later, I find the coin sitting on my dresser. That's not even the worst part. With it, there was a little note that said, 'Thanks for the company.' I was totally freaked out. No idea how it got there or who left it, but let's just say that I am never skipping the goodbye again. That coin and its creepy note are now tucked away in a drawer, and I'm definitely not messing with a Ouija board anytime soon." Oh, keeping the note is so scary. I feel like I just throw it all in the fire, burn it all, out of sight, out of mind, you know? We had this sleepover and decided to break out the Ouija board, but we ended up forgetting to say goodbye. That was obviously a big mistake, and my life has been hell ever since. The next morning, my friend found her creepy porcelain doll had been moved from one side of the room to the other. Like, it was nowhere near where she'd left it. She was convinced it was the board's fault, and honestly, I didn't argue. Ever since then, that doll's been acting all kinds of weird. It looks like it moves on its own when no one's around. We've tried to ignore it, but it's got this unsettling vibe that makes us way too nervous to even touch it. We're all pretty much avoiding that room altogether now. Well, looks like they created the new Annabelle, so that's great for all of us. I love that. Maybe we'll get another franchise. So my friends and I were messing around with a Ouija board one night and totally forgot to say goodbye. A few days later, this weird cold spot showed up in my living room. No joke, it was freezing cold. Like somebody had left a window open in the middle of winter, but the rest of the house was perfectly warm. It stayed there for days, no matter what we did to warm it up. We were all getting super creeped out, so we finally decided to get rid of the board, thinking that that might help. As soon as we threw it out, the cold spot vanished. It was like it never existed. We didn't waste any time and made sure to do a full house cleanse. Definitely learned our lesson. Never forget to say goodbye again. Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. Let me know if you would use a Ouija board. I don't know. I don't think I would, because I don't want to get cursed. That's too much for me to handle, alright? I already have a full-time job. I can't get possessed as well. I've been your host today, Olivia Kosolofski, and I will see you all again very soon. Goodbye.